This is very important for us as teachers. I am not going to stick strictly to my PowerPoint presentation. So can you please maybe take down notes if you want to ask questions at the end of the session. So writing skills develop vocabulary. They help us to interpret a topic, and writing skills promote discipline. So we know that these skills are not only used in in English, but it aids learning in every other subject. And writing skills also help learners for when they are out of school, at university. So it's a very, very important skill for us to teach. The art of writing a friendly letter is therefore imperative. It is a writing format that is introduced early in a child's English learning and carries through to the final years of school. I am very curious to hear from our attendees whether this is the same within your education system as well. Is the friendly letter the first writing skill that you teach your learners? We can never take for granted that an extensive vocabulary helps us to speak, listen, read, and write better. A good writer is always an avid reader. There is a definite onus on teachers to read for themselves. It's quite surprising, actually, that so many teachers of English do not read, but we have to read because our learners will catch our enthusiasm for reading. And it is very important for teachers to also read to our learners. I teach in the higher grades, grades 10, 11, and 12, preparing them for entrance into university. And what I find really curious is that learners love to be read to, regardless of their age. So a vocabulary does not just happen. The building of vocabulary does not just happen. We have to make a conscious effort to expand our vocabulary. Whether we are a learner or whether we are a teacher, we ought to be reading every day. So let us proceed to the first step of letter writing, which is the selection of the topic. So in the older grades, we normally give our learners a choice. We'll probably give them 3 topics and ask them to choose one. How do we teach a child how to select a topic? It's so important that a learner chooses a topic that a learner is well acquainted with. Many learners can choose topics because they want to impress the examiner or the teacher, but they will know very little content about that topic. So encourage learners to choose a topic that they know much about, that they can write about, that they have the necessary vocabulary to write on this particular topic. For our little learners in South Africa, that would mean grade 4, we should choose one topic and then introduce the learner to the friendly letter step by step. In other words, write the address on the board. Show them how you write a letter. And then as you write the letter, allow them to transcribe into the books. I really encourage teachers not to point learners to a textbook or to a worksheet and ask them to learn from that format. It's very important that we teach it step by step. In other words, that it is a very practical, interactive exercise in the class. So once we have chosen our topic, our next step is brainstorming. Many teachers teach brainstorming as one aspect of a topic. I've chosen a day at the seaside. Please feel free to choose your own topic. Even when we go into our breakout rooms just now, please feel free to choose a topic that you and your group are comfortable with. So what I find is a very innovative way of teaching brainstorming is if you choose a topic, for example, if it is a day at the seaside, or a day at the park, or a day in a city that you've never visited before, then brainstorm on every single aspect of that topic. For example, if it is a day at the seaside, then don't just write down one seaside place. Choose different seasides. In South Africa, it would be Durban, it would be Cape Town, it would be Plettenberg Bay, it would be Hout Bay, our coastal our coastal towns. Write everything down. Then, why did you go to the seaside? Write all the different reasons that you might go to the seaside. Are you going because you've had a very busy week and you just want to consolidate, you want to be quiet near the sea? Are you going to the seaside because you're celebrating a birthday? I cannot emphasize this enough. Write every single thing that you know about your topic on your page. So I'm actually going to stop there. If we can please break out into the rooms. Neil, is that okay?
Yes, yes, I'm just doing that now. Okay, I've created 5 breakout rooms, and here we go.
Neil, are we going to be back now? Hi, Neil. Are we still in the breakout rooms?
Hello, I don't know. I'm just joining.
Welcome back, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay, I believe everybody is back now. Sivanandini, if you'd like to continue.
Thank you so much, Neil. I hope that that was interactive and not difficult. The room that I went into, I think there was a bit of problem with the sound. Okay. All right. So let's move along. We've been in a breakout room where we've written everything that we know about a day at the seaside or any other topic that you have chosen. So once we have all the information that we need on a page, a learner then proceeds to make an informed choice on how they are going to answer the topic. For example, is it going to be a day in New York? Is it going to be a day in Delhi? Is it going to be a day in Melbourne? Is it going to be a day in a city in South America? You know, we can be so imaginative. So we are going to write a letter to a friend on a day at the seaside or any other chosen topic. So format in writing is very, very important. It's important in all types of writing, but it's especially important in transactional writing. How do we set out a letter? In South Africa, we have a very set format scaffolded to us by the Department of Basic Education. We have to prescribe to the way a letter is written, a friendly letter is written, or any other type of transactional writing as set out by our Department of Basic Education. So before we proceed with the format of the letter, can we have some comments from our attendees with regards to the brainstorming? Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Tandiwe, share your experience, your brainstorming.
Yes, what I'm finding interesting is that although I visit Durban a lot, you know, a lot, I found it a bit uncomfortable or intimidating to have ideas flowing into my brain. It is like I had a mind block. So it's kind of giving me an experience to put myself in the shoes of a learner when we find them not knowing how or where to start in terms of brainstorming. So that experience, you know, is actually pushing me to be a bit more sympathetic or, yeah, you know, understand what the learner goes through when they have to put down their ideas. That's what I thought.
What grades do you teach, Tandiwe?
Grade 5 and 7 for this year.
Okay, so you can actually do a brainstorming with them by writing the words on the board where they call it out, or you can give them group work, you know, with the big chart and 4 of them around it, and then write down all the words that they know, so they don't feel they're doing it totally on their own and feel as intimidated as we can feel. I see there's another one in the chat from Sandrine. Football is a seaside sport, I know, and that's because it's fun, as it gives one the opportunity to play with the sand. You can travel to the seaside by car, boat, or bike. Oh, yes, definitely, Sandrine. Thank you so much for that. So we are going to proceed now to the actual writing of the letter, unless there's anybody else from our attendees that wants to make any further comment with regards to brainstorming. That was very insightful of you, Tandiwe.
We have a hand up, Sandini Savan, from Nicoline Janaka.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, everyone. I worked with Adrian and with Ruth in the breakout room, and it was really interesting because we soon started trying to make the longest lists. And it was really nice to see that gamification added to the brainstorming, because on each of the points, we were quite excited about what else could we add. So for example, when we were thinking about beach spots or places on the beach, we spoke about, you know, the obvious seaside, but then also the esplanade and the lagoon and the harbor and other things like that. And then similarly, when we started speaking about how we would travel there, we were thinking about, you know, how far away each of us was from the beach. Adrian made us really jealous because she walks to the beach from where she lives. But for Ruth and I, it was a much longer journey. So once again, we started thinking about all the possible ways. And it was just an interesting element that we thought would be useful for learners as well, to encourage them to try and think of more ideas, to stretch them to also, you know, prompt them to use their vocabulary more widely as well. So thank you from Ruth, Adrian, and I, and those who visited us in between in the breakout room as well.
Thank you so much, Nicoline. Thank you for those comments.
There's another hand up, if I can, from Adegbehingbe Abayomi.
Proceed, ma'am. Or sir, I'm not sure who it is.
Adegbehingbe Abayomi. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing this poorly.
Yes, I see the hand. Adibingebi Abayomi. Your hand is up. We want to hear you.
Okay, maybe it's what we call a legacy hand. Perhaps we can move on, Sivanandini.
Yes, thank you so much, Steve. Okay, so So I'm not sure whether, you know, from the country that you are at, what exactly is the format that you use for a friendly letter. So I would be curious to know. In South Africa, we start with the address of the person that is writing the letter. So we write that address on the right-hand side of the page in block format. So what do we understand by block format? Is that every line of the address is written directly below the one before. So we do not write the address in a slanted fashion. For example, when I was at school, we had to write in a slanted fashion, but we do not do that anymore. It has been changed. So I have 10 Meadow Lane, Hout Bay, 2169, Cape Town, all written in directly below each other. But what I do to help the learners in order to learn the block format is to fold your page in half longitudinally, because not all of our learners can write directly below the other, especially at the beginning stages. So it's just a little tip to fold the page in half so that they have the address directly below one another. Then the X's on the page are just to indicate leaving a line blank. You do not write on that line. So after you've written your address, you leave a line, and then you write what we call the salutation. I have Dear Sarah. And then we leave a line again, and we begin with the introduction. So what I teach them with regards to the introduction is that you do not go immediately into the topic. You engage with your friend first. For example, please, before I say what I need to say, please avoid hi, how are you? Because your addressee, the person that you are writing to, cannot answer you back. So start with an interesting point before engaging with the actual topic. For example, thank you for your kind phone call on my birthday. It made me so happy. And then start with what you are writing about in the letter. Last week, I visited the seaside in a town that I am holidaying in. And then you can proceed into the second part of the letter, the body. You leave a line again after the introduction. So in the body, make sure that you deal with different aspects of the topic separately. Do not write down 6 different facts about 6 different things in one topic. Choose one aspect of your topic and write about it. For example, if you are writing on where you went to, then you will write about that in the first topic, the first paragraph in your body. Then in your next paragraph, you can write down on why you went there. And then in the next paragraph in the body, you can write down on what you did there. Obviously, with our little ones who are starting in grade 4, just let them write one paragraph in the body, because it's quite intimidating to ask them to write 3 paragraphs. They will not know so much. So we have to walk them step by step. And I think what I want to say here is that we need to teach our learners to be enthusiastic about writing, enthusiastic about English. They must look forward to it. If you're living in South Africa, You do not have to write as if you are living in South Africa. You could be living on a beautiful island like Mauritius. So your address is a street in Mauritius. You know, make it exciting, make it different, make them want to write, make them want to come to your class. Okay. Then the conclusion should also end with an interesting point, encouraging further communication. For example, I look forward to seeing you during the winter holidays. Perhaps we can go and watch a movie. So I discourage my learners from using terms such as best wishes, kind regards. What I want to teach them is the ending, which is yours sincerely, the Y in a capital letter, sincerely beginning with a small letter, and then obviously teaching them how to spell sincerely, because we have that right until high school where they almost forget how to spell sincerely. They will miss out an E, or they will add an E between the L and the Y. Please teach them the format of letter writing before you go into any content. And then always remember tenses. If you are writing in the present tense, stick to the present tense. If you're writing in the past tense, stick to the past tense. Avoid colloquialism, avoid slang. And then when you are practicing writing, before learners are going to be tested on writing, because we always test what we've taught, please encourage your learners to keep the dictionary right next to them, so that they're expanding vocabulary as they are writing as well, besides the fact that they're expanding through reading every day. Thank you so much. If there are any questions, and I would love to answer.
Okay, over to you, participants, for any questions you might have. You can write them into the chat, or you can unmute yourself and ask them directly.
Any full stops, punctuation in terms of full stops after yours sincerely?
Yes, thank you so much for asking that very, very pertinent question. So that has changed in South Africa. In the address, there are no abbreviations and there are no full stops or commas. Thank you so much for asking this question. Just shows how we work in a team. And then, dear Sarah, no punctuations, no commas. Yours sincerely, no punctuation, no comma. The name immediately under it, no punctuation, no comma, and then all of it is written next to the margin. Thank you so much, Thandi.
Thank you so much.
Good morning.
Good morning, Bruno.
Yes.
Is it Bruno?
Yes.
Yes, how may I help?
Yes, the punctuations now that you said it should not be there. In our own country, we are encouraged to punctuate it.
Oh, okay, all right.
So what do we do? Do we just abide what is happening in our country here?
Oh, definitely, definitely. You must abide by the prescriptions of your education department in your country. In your country, definitely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Pleasure, pleasure.
I thought we should be advising them to avoid it now.
No, that's South Africa. I said in our country.
It's okay, thank you.
Pleasure. Okay, so do you leave a line between the address and the date? That was what I was taught in school about 1,000 years ago.
Yes.
Interesting.
Here in Nigeria, here we are not advised or encouraged to do that. That line
Yes,
speaks,
no.
That line spacing.
Yes, we do not leave a line.
Yes. We do not
We
leave a
write the
line.
address, you write the address and you write the date immediately under the address.
Yes.
You do not leave a line.
Yes, and even
Okay.
even in the body of the letter, the introduction and all those, we don't leave line spacing.
Okay. And then from Sandrine, why do we have to write the address in block letters? No. I think you misunderstanding. We do not write the address in block letters. The format of the way the address is written is in a block format. You write normally. I hope I'm being clear with what I'm saying there, Sandrine.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, hello.
This is Soro from Cote d'Ivoire, Yetiena.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
Very
Very good one, very excellent.
Thank you.
My point is, you said that writing makes a student discipline. Can you please elaborate on it?
Definitely, I will.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you so much.
So
Thank you.
pleasure. So the way you write a letter, you have to remember that you have to write an address, that you have and then the date, and then you leave a line, and then you do your salutation. Then you have to remember to order your thoughts. What are you going to write in the introduction? How are you going to engage with the topic in the body? You have to remember how to end off a friendly letter. So this is what I mean by it teaches you discipline. Most definitely. Your thoughts have to be ordered in order to write an effective letter. I hope I'm answering you.
Oh, for sure. I was just trying to understand if we were on the same wavelength. Thank you very much.
Yes. And then you're creating the correct pathways in your brain, for discipline, and that will scaffold into all the different areas.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Lots of hands up. How about we ask Taiwo Olusegun for a question? Taiwo Olusegun.
Okay. Good morning. Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Has been answered by the way she answered one of the teachers, that we should follow the educational department, whatever they stipulate. That's what we should say, because here in Nigeria we are told that there is a difference in the language of a formal letter and that of the informal letter. So you made us to know that we should avoid colloquialism, but colloquialism is allowed in Nigeria, in informal letter. So I think that's a contrast from South African way of writing.
Yes, it has to be. It has to be. We definitely avoid colloquialism and slang. Personally, as a teacher of English, I definitely discourage my learners, because what I find is that it creeps into the formal letter, and it can even creep into the formal essay writing. So I just try and keep colloquialism and slang out of writing. But it's a personal choice. But obviously you have to abide by the regulations of your country.
Okay, we have another hand up, and it's Kea Reletse Sechorela. Kea Reletse Sechogela.
Good day, Kia.
So thank you, and thank you for pronouncing my name so well. Thank you, Rajes.
I'm amazed I got that right. Thank you.
Thank you, Rajes, for the wonderful presentation, which was very interesting. And I have a question for you. We
Sure,
were
ma'am.
expected with our breakaway rooms to discuss the different seaside spots.
Yeah.
But what I would like to find out from you is, how would you expect the learners to submit their work? Will that be a group activity or an individual activity? I found it interesting because to some of the learners who might not have been to the seaside might be having questions and have limited vocabulary, which might somehow maybe disadvantage them if they are expected to write as an individual versus writing as a group. That also will take us to having maybe gone through the learners that you teach, know their backgrounds. If you give them a topic, it should be a topic that will cover them all, so that others would not be disadvantaged because they have not been exposed to that environment that you expect them to write about. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Kia. Thank you for your kind comments and your questions. Definitely, context is very important when we are teaching. I know I teach in Gauteng, which is a landlocked province in South Africa. So if I have to give a topic like a day at the seaside, if a learner does not have a well-developed imagination or is not an avid reader, they probably will not know anything about the seaside, except the fact that South Africa does have, you know, seaside shorelines. So yes, context is very, very important. Choose topics that are relevant to your learners. Obviously, we have to take the time to know our learners in order to do that. And then submission. In the lower grades, I would do it as a first draft, and then a final draft, or even a first draft, a second draft, and a final draft. But then in high school, because of the matric requisites, it's normally planning and then straight to the final. So I would apply that kind of due date for submission for them. I hope I've answered you, Kia. Is there anything else you want me to say?
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Hello.
Yes, hello.
Yeah, Lawal from Nigeria also. Yeah, thank you very much for the wonderful presentation, Ma.
Thank you so much.
We now understand that an informal letter or a friendly letter should have some features and some formats that we need to explain to our students. All right, in the sense that I used to have this problem in my class that when I ask my learners to write a letter, they have the idea of that letter, but expression, the expression aspect of the letter, right? Trying to express their mind on paper is a problem. So I want to ask, is there any number of words? Because I normally tell them to write, okay, for the grade 7, I do tell them to write about 150 words. Then grade 2 and grade 8, they write 200 words, while grade 9 writes 250.
Hello? Have we lost him?
Words. So is there a standard able to measure the capacity? If the learner should write 100 words based on the class, is there a standard that, okay, the 100 words he has written or she has written is okay compared to his, in comparison to his level of class? I don't know if you get my question.
So, okay, so what you're saying is that a learner can be challenged to give you the number of requisite words. For example, for us, it's 180 to 200 in high school. So what are you asking, how would you encourage a learner to write more?
Yes, and also how do we as teachers, how can we assess the learner based on the number of words they've written? If it is standard enough, For example, in our examination, in examination based on our national examination, they do require a number of words at the secondary school. They will tell you not less than 450 words for those at the higher secondary school. So how do we measure the level of learner based on the number of words they write in their letter?
It's actually not easy. You know, it depends on what the child is saying in the 100 words. So I would be concerned about a high school learner that's not being able to write the requisite number of words. What's happening in primary school? You know, what's happening in the lower grades? Are they being taught step by step to write? Are they being given examples of friendly letters, of formal letters, you know, to expand their vocabulary? Are they being read to? You know, are they reading? Because the more words you know, the more you can write. If it's a learner in the high school that's writing 100 words, and how are you going to assess? I would actually take the learner aside in the class, and then they would know why they wrote 100 words. For example, that maybe they didn't know they had to write 200 words, you know, so they only wrote 100 words. And then I would actually give them a second opportunity to write the same letter, so that they can increase their vocabulary and the number of lines that they answering that topic, the way they're answering that topic. But I would certainly look at the lower grades. If a child is coming to you in high school, unable to write at least 200 words, you know?
Okay, for the lower grade, 200 words is the standard.
Wow, that's high standard of education. So it's standard in the lower grades. And then are those lower grade learners able to write a letter of 200 words?
Okay.
Are they able to write it, sir?
Some of the learners, sometimes when you tell them write 200 words, they will be scared. Like they will be like, they'll be scared. So I'm looking for a way to guide them on how to achieve that. Though we normally brainstorm. Okay.
I would start with giving them exemplars of friendly letters or whatever writing you are wanting to teach them. Give them standardized letters that have 200 words. You know, maybe you write a letter on a topic, photocopy and give it to your learners, and then show them how you've written that letter.
Okay.
And how you've come to 200 words. Another way is to actually write the letter on the chalkboard, or whether you're using a whiteboard. I don't know how, you know, where your technology is at your school. Write it out on the board and show them, look, I've written a letter, it's 200 words. You know, you're going to have to set a platform for them by example before expecting them to write a letter of 200 words, because that is a tall order for you know, a child in primary school.
Okay. All right,
but
noted.
help them along, walk alongside them, you know.
All right,
okay,
noted.
We have a question, hand up, Steve Diop. Do you have a question from the Telegram group, Steve? Okay, that's not working. So how about Omojolade Dansu? Omojolade, do you have a question for us?
Good morning.
Hello.
Good afternoon. Omojolade from Nigeria, please.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma. How are you today, ma?
I'm well, thanks. How can I help you?
Please, ma, I appreciate I've been learning all along, and I Really do appreciate it, ma. But the question is, I want more clarification on formal letter. How do we groom our students on formal letter? Because I noticed that even some of them cannot spell. Some cannot spell well. Some don't know how to express themselves. So I want you to tell us how we can groom them. In writing, they can't express themselves. And some of them cannot even spell correctly. Their composition of words are sometimes wrong, using past tense for present tense. You know, I don't know if you can help us or to tell us more on how we can solve such problem. Thank you.
Yes, it's all about vocabulary, isn't it? And sentence structure, and teaching them from the early years, enforcing reading, encouraging reading, because that is the only way that they're going to develop vocabulary, learn to use the dictionary, teach them how to use the dictionary. I think so much of learning has to do obviously about teaching, and it's how we teach, and are we walking alongside them and showing them how to write, how to read, because this is so important. We cannot sort of expect a learner to do the right thing if we're not teaching them the right thing right from the beginning. Sometimes you need like an overhaul, from the lower grade right up to the high school, sit with the teachers, decide on the way forward. What are the challenges, specific challenges within the context of your school? Must every learner bring a dictionary every day into English class? Because that's how we are going to learn from now on. Are we going to read to our children for 5 minutes every day in our classes, so that they are going to be exposed to reading? Maybe they don't have books to read, they cannot get to a library. So it's a constant conscious drive towards developing English, and we will see that translate into writing. That is for sure. For sure.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure, ma'am.
Okay, another question. This one from Mohammed Hamid.
Good morning, Mohammed.
Hello.
How can I help?
It is Muhammad from Sudan. Thank you for this presentation and this informative data about writing. I think this topic is important for anyone, and I appreciate you about introducing this topic, and also I thank the British Council for touching this aspect of letter or writing, because this skill is important for us. The writing is one of the most important skill, and I think I have a question about or related to informal and formal letter. This question regarding to sign off and signature. Where I can put the sign off and signature in formal letter and at informal letter. The location of sign off and signature. Thank you.
Okay, so in South Africa, we sign off next to the margin. For the informal letter, it's yours sincerely, and then you write your name immediately under, just your first name. And then if it's a formal letter, I'm going to say again, in South Africa, we write down yours faithfully. Faithfully is in small letter. Then immediately in the next line, you sign. It's a signature. And then below that, you will write your name and your surname. Not sure if it's the same in your country. I'm just going to answer for the chat. A good question, Kiergeletse. In the process writing approach, we encourage students to brainstorm, draft, and comment on each other's drafts before they write their individual letters. Yes, that's very good in high school, you know, where they can read each other's work and they can make meaningful comments. Peer editing is very, very good. Another question. Cote d'Ivoire. Friendly letter students are asked for the number of lines, 10 to 12 lines instead of number of words. Okay, thank you for that. Yes.
Shall we have one final question then from Kiergeletse again? One final question. And I'm delighted to be able to pronounce that, I hope, correctly once more.
Yes, you did, and thank you once more. Maybe just to make you aware that we have not been able to chat with you because the chat box was being disabled. That is why we could not see any of us maybe coming up with comments on the chat box. My last question is based on the framework. I would like to check with Rajes if it will be too much for the big ones to give them a framework, especially in the senior phase. After realizing that maybe your learners are not yet up to the level that you would want them to be, will I be wrong to give the senior phase learners, that is grade 7 to 9, a framework of how I would expect them to write a letter, and maybe giving them just a few vocabulary words that I think might be useful for them to be able to write it? Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. We can even do that in the lower grades. You know, give them a framework and then vocabulary. You can do that as actually as a startup lesson, you know, where you write all the vocabulary down on the board and then they can write it down because then it goes into their permanent memory. Also the framework, I like to do the framework on the chalkboard and then they copy the framework down because once again, they are actually writing it down instead of just viewing it, for example, on a worksheet. What do you think, Kiergeletse?
Thank you for that, Rajes. And I think that will be very useful for them, especially because most of our learners are doing English as a second language. So that will really assist.
Yeah, yes, most definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for your
interactivity. Sorry, Sivan. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, Tandy.
Yes, I just want to make an input with regards to Kiergeletse. I think it's Kiergeletse, she just went off now. Regarding us taking the issue of context into consideration when she made her earlier input. I also thought of the same thing, that we should be cognizant of the fact that our children are not exposed to, you know, they don't have similar experiences. So when we take, for example, the example of the seaside, we might want to say, no, let's not give them that topic because it could be a bit difficult for them since they have not been to the sea. But on second thoughts, my thinking or my input would be, because we have different skills in English, the 4 skills, you know, you're listening and speaking in South Africa, how we do it. So the listening and speaking, the writing and presenting, and then the language. So my suggestion would be to Kiergeletse is that instead of us therefore limiting our children and saying, no, they haven't been to the seaside or they don't have much knowledge, how about then we come up first with probably a story probably a comprehension, and we read for them, do the listening and speaking before, so that we give them exposure to what the seaside is like and what happens down there. So read them a story about a young girl that visits the seaside and her experience there and all that. And then gather some things from them. And then from there, we can then proceed to the writing and presenting. Because I'm afraid that if we keep saying the context and saying, you know, they don't have exposure to that, then who is going to expose them? Because we cannot wait for them to go to the sea. But we want them that when they go to the sea, they have an expectation of knowing what to expect from or at the sea. I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say.
Lovely. It's empowering them before you give them
empowering them before, yes, instead of leaving them in the dark.
Before you give them the essay. Very, very good. Yes, you can do that in so many different aspects of English, you know, empower and then, yeah.
Yes,
Thank
and
you.
a quick one again. There's a gentleman who asked about what you mean in terms of writers have to be organized, or we organize our thoughts. So what I have resorted to doing now with my grade 4s last year and grade 5 this year is to now start making sure that I teach them the W's, the 6 W's of questions. So in the brainstorming session, first of all, we start with the W's. What am I writing about? Who am I? So in this case, the informal letter would be, who am I writing the letter to? What am I going to include there? Where did I go? How did I experience that? Why did I go there? And when did I go? So the W's, they work so well for me in terms of brainstorming. So whenever we start anything, I start with those question words, and then I find it that they kind of are able to start flowing with ideas. So I don't know if that would help as well.
I'm sure it would help. And it's nice to teach them the actual term, question words, you know, because it's something that you can use in comprehension as well. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, everybody. This is Neil again, and I would just like to thank, obviously, Sivanandini or Rajes to her friends, and everybody else who has participated in this very interesting presentation and clearly very motivating. We had so many questions and so many very interesting questions too. So thank you, everybody. As I mentioned at the beginning, we have recorded this, and the recording will be available on the Teach English Africa website. And we also would like you, please, to complete a questionnaire about this webinar. It's so that we can improve the service that we're offering. So it's very important to us if we can please get some feedback from you. Okay, so thank you again, Sivanandini, Rajes, and everybody else for attending. It's been a pleasure, and I hope to see you again next month. Thank you all.
Thank you to the British Council, and thank you so much, Steve and the team.
Thank you, everybody. Much appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you so much.